Hi, my name is Justin Dyson. I'm taking Scalable Data Infrastructures in Term 1401. This video will be a reflection of Project 2 during Week 2, and I'm going to be talking about how, or what it was like going further into JavaScript. So what went well? I had a lot more fun this week. I didn't have to stay up near as late since I had the weekend to knock out most of the reading. I also found that the more I coded along with the book and with the videos, I found it was a lot easier to learn the swing of things, so that went pretty well. I was able to break down some mental barriers that I had that were keeping me from writing code that made sense. So that was probably one of the best things that happened this week. I was able to see things more clearly, and so that went well. What went not so well was probably the hardest thing this week was trying to squeeze my story into the confines of the flowchart. Had the flowchart not required certain functions to take X number of arguments and return certain data types, and I probably would have written everything completely different. But in the end, I was able to make it work, and I think my code turned out pretty well. Mr. Lewis offered some really good guidance both this week and last week, so if any of you haven't used that resource, I would encourage you to do so. How does this week relate to previous work, jobs, and life? I thought that this week's code could really be compared to other programs that I've used, just because you had loops and functions, and it made a little bit more sense. My theme was still Pokemon, so I was able to simulate catching and training Pokemon. Although it was very generic, it was still a simulation, which was kind of cool. I also found that I'm starting to look at other things outside of school and coding in terms of functions and objects, and so I think that'll help progress me further down the road, hopefully with getting a good grasp on how the code functions and works. How does this relate to future works, job, and life? So I'm hoping by the end of these 4 weeks that my grasp on the coding basics will be good enough so that I can start formulating some projects in my head. I have several ideas, but I don't necessarily have the coding skills to see them come to life. Learning about loops and functions really gets the ball rolling mentally, so I'm hoping that really pushes me forward in the future. So that's it for this week. In summary, the week went well, and the coding concepts I picked up should really start pushing me forward with some side projects in the future. So thank you. See you next week.